Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking, coming to you from the Gaming Dojo today, talking to you about this game called The Pirate Republic. I am a sucker for all things pirates. I have read tons of non-fiction books about the situation. I have played tons of pirate games, and I am a sucker for pirate board games. I can't get enough of them, and I really hope that more and more of those games keep coming out. I have several pirate board games that I really enjoy. I like Jamaica, I like Blackbeard, I love Merchants and Marauders. And Merchants and Marauders was, when I said at that time, I remember when I did that review a long time ago now, I said that was like my perfect pirate board game. And I really felt that way. Until I played the Pirate Republic. I have fallen in love with this game, and as much as I love those other games I mentioned earlier, this one is the best in my opinion. So anyway, let me show you how the game is played. There is a lot going on. There's a lot of rules that you're going to have to digest to play this, but it is well worth it, and well worth the effort it'll take to learn the game, because it does have a little bit of a steep incline to get to that playing level where you're comfortable playing, but once you hit it, man, this game is just, it's easygoing and very straightforward, and it isn't very tough at all to play. So, alright, here we go. The Pirate Republic. Let's dive in. Alright, so this is the Pirate Republic, and I realize this has got a lot of information and a lot of stuff going on in front of you right now, and it might seem like a lot to digest, but with lots of games like this, once you learn how to play, it comes really quickly. At its heart, this is a very straightforward pirate game. You will be piloting your ships, which are like start off here in Nassau at the beginning of the game. That's where a pirate haven is. And you will be traveling about the board, trying to increase your reputation, increase your power, and increase the options that you have through like making your deck better, that will allow you to take on bigger and better enemies as the game proceeds. The game is played over the course of 4 turns, which will have a varying number of rounds in each one of those turns, and that is determined when you roll some dice. And when I get to the actual like how a turn goes, then you'll understand that with a little more detail. Basically, the game will continue until either all 4 turns are done, or when the flying gang mission is completed. Before the game begins, you will either draw randomly one of these flying gang missions here, and they're called flying gang missions because mostly, for the most part, these have to be completed usually by all the players combined. Or not all the players, but at least 1 or 2 of the players combined, just because you need more power. But they'll have like a title in the top here, like this one says Scorched Earth, and then it'll say turn all land territories into pirate havens and destroy all others' land territories. So basically you have to go and like destroy the forts, destroy the establishments there, and then the pirates go off and create pirate havens at the ones that are still in existence. So, I mean, and this is like an extremely tough to do, obviously, because there's a lot of land areas or whatever. Some of them are not as hard. So, like, here's one that just says easy on it. And it says, take out 2 nations' navies, draw territory cards to decide which navies. And so you can then, the territory cards are over there, you draw 2 of those, and then those, depending upon the location, like if it said St. Kitts, then this would be, you know, like the French would be one navy, and then if like San Juan was the other, then the Spanish were the other one. So you'd have to destroy all the navies for that. So basically they'd have no presence on the board after hunting down and finding each one. So things like that. But, you know, the flying gang missions, like I said, there are tons of these. You're only going to have one. Usually the players kind of pick the one that they're going to use, and then they just use that to go with. I've only had the game end of the times I played this once due to the flying gang mission. Usually we're just having too much fun cruising around the board, and, you know, being a pirate, that we don't really worry about the flying gang mission, if you will. So this is a semi-cooperative game, meaning that not, you know, more than one person can win. And so to determine that, each person at the beginning of the game gets a captain mission out of this deck. And there's a lot of them here. And so the captain mission just tells you something they have to do. Sometimes there's a ton of text like that one. But some of them, it's just like really cool. Like, you must be the first to achieve a level 5 captain. So these are the different levels. This is your swagger track. As you have more and more swagger, you then you go up on that track over there. Or something a little more, establish a pirate haven in Pensacola and do not let it be destroyed. And so, that'd be one thing. Some of them, like I said, are huge. And notice what this one says, you are the saboteur. Now, there are missions in here that are going to be, because the idea of the Pirate Republic is that all the pirates are kind of working together. This is like a golden age piracy. They want to work together to like make sure that they retire with a ton of money in their pockets. But it is possible that one person could be a saboteur, and you actually do create this deck. Like for 2 or 3 people, you will take one of the saboteur cards out of here, and then have 4 normal missions, and then you hand those out. And so, like with 3 people, chances are all of you would work together, but you kind of have to keep your like head above your shoulders or whatever, to know if possibly somebody's working against you. If you have 4 people, you actually have 2 saboteur cards, so it's possible that half of the people that are playing could be working against the other 2. So it's kind of a neat little thing they add. They do say that the first time you play, don't play with the saboteurs, because that actually, obviously will make it a little more difficult, if you will, but they just, I found that the game works really well as just like a straight cooperative. Like if you all decide, okay, fine, we're just not going to play with saboteurs, and we're all going to work together and try to complete our missions and that sort of thing, it kind of works really well. It's like you have a certain amount of time, each person's trying to complete that mission, their own personal mission, and whatever. But as always, you can just kind of play this however you want to play it and just go the way you want to go. Alright, so depending upon, there are 4 of the 4 famous pirates that you can take the role of. Of course, Blackbeard would have to be one, but Sam Bellamy, John Rackham, or he was also known as Calico Jack, and Anne Bonny are 4 of the pirates that you can be. And that they don't gain any kind of special powers or anything like that. They are designated by their flags. Like here, I've taken Blackbeard and Anne Bonny for the 2 that I have, and then each person gets a deck of cards, the same starting deck, and they have their symbol up here, so you'll know this is for Edward Tetch or Blackbeard, and this one would be for Anne Bonny. That's probably not historically accurate, but it looks pretty cool with the cool hat and the 2 pistols or whatever. So and these cards, I might as well show you some of them. Cards will just generate certain abilities, and because this isn't really a deck building game, because of the fact that you're not really ever like shuffling up your cards and doing anything like that, but you do add cards to this deck by like increasing in levels with the swagger track, and you get like better cards out of these advanced pirate cards. I'm sure you can tell they're advanced because they just don't have any of those symbols on the top, so they're open and what have you. Depending upon like what level of pirate you are, you'll normally have a hand of 5 cards. Sometimes that can be lowered, sometimes it can be increased, but you get your 5 cards. Let me just grab 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just grab 5 cards, and so on your turn, then you'd have these 5 cards to mess with and decide how you're gonna run these. And they have cool names like Press Gang'em, but then it actually gives you, this would be like 2 parlay or 2 cannon. But if you have a reputation token and you want to spend that reputation token, you can increase this to 4 parlay and a 4 cannon. You might say, well, what does that mean? Well, I'll explain that a little bit more when we get into the actual like combat and how you fight other ships that you run into. Alright, so just other couple quick things, and then I'll actually show you how the game is played. You have 2 sets of combat dice. This the brown one is for if you happen to be on land. You can go onto land and attack forts and what have you. These are these forts, and these the blue one, as you can probably guess, is for when you're at sea and you're fighting ships. So you just think of it this way: squares are land, and they have a little cool, couple of palm trees and a beach kind of thing. And circles are ships. Now, when you start off the game, there's going to be 7 ships that are going to be face up. So you're going to know what you're dealing with as far as when you're fighting them. Then there are going to be 13 of them that are face down. So they're like this. And those get revealed when you enter into that location. So you can see what you're dealing. You can't, when you go into a spot that has a ship, you will immediately go into combat with that. So you have to kind of keep in mind that there's a possibility you're going to run into something that you don't really want to fight. Now, you're going to notice that there's also a couple other things, like these face-up, these are forts, and they're very, very difficult to defeat, but sometimes, like, you'll have a mission that says you have to defeat a fort. They are very, very powerful, and you almost certainly can't take care of them on your own. It's almost always you have to combine forces with somebody else to kind of bring them along, to have you help them, so you combine your cards to defeat those things. There are several different types of ships that you can run into. You can run into Navy ships, you can run into pirate ships, you can run into merchant ships. All of those are going to have different powers and like how strong they are as far as when you're fighting them. But the other thing that you have is that to begin the game, you put pirate hunters down. Number of players, and then they have a specific place they show up. And these pirate hunters are, and they're also like more in this container. You can tell they're pirate hunters because they got that skull chewing on the sword. And then you randomly pick one and you put these down. Now these technically don't move until the turn's done. Then they'll move to another location. What they do is that if you start your turn within a certain amount of distance from them, depending upon the turn of the game, so turn 1, if you are in the same spot as they are, they'll attack you. And then turn 2, if you're within 2 spaces of them, turn 3, if you're in 3 spaces of them, turn 4, within 4 spaces of them, they will automatically attack you if you start your turn in, like, within range of them. During your turn, you can feel free to pass through them. They won't attack you. If you have enough movement, you can just move through them, and you'll be able, and they won't do anything with you. But just keep that in mind that these guys want to do you in. They want to take you out or whatever. Now you might notice that there are some cool little lines here, and this is like these like you and it might be difficult, and I think they're changing this so that's a lot more noticeable, but some of these are gold lines like here, and some of these are silver lines like here. That is the treasure fleet. Now the treasure fleet is something very, very important because of the fact that the treasure fleet was a real thing. That was when Spain was getting all the gold from Central America and South America, and then they were shipping it back to Spain. You could, and it actually happened historically, people were able to attack the treasure fleet and get away with a lot of money. And there will be certain events and things that will happen that will cause treasure fleet ships to show up in certain locations on the board. And then you take one of these. This is a treasure fleet token. And you take one of these and you put it down. And these symbols might not mean a lot to you right now, but you'll notice that it has a 20 defense, it has a 20 attack, that little crown skull there. If you manage to take it out, you would get 14 swagger. To capture it, you have to actually get you actually go through a duel, and you have to have 8 dueling to finally defeat it after you defeat the boat, and then you would get a treasure, because that little thing down there. And treasure isn't like getting gold or anything like that. Treasure is actually treasure cards that you actually are going to put on your player sheet. I'll show you a player sheet here in a second. And these are very, very powerful things that are just permanent abilities, like Flintlock Pistols has an attack of 10. That's huge, Cutlass, attack of 9. Let me see if I can find something else that isn't like attack. Superior Mariner's Astrolabe. Set both sailing dice to any icon. So basically, when you begin the game, you're going to roll dice to these dice, which are your sailing dice, to determine where you go, or you get initiative on all encounters this turn, including the initiative fleet. And initiative when you're in combat matters a great deal, because if you can get the first attack in and you're able to take out your enemy, then they don't get to fight back and have a chance to hurt you. So things like that are very important. As the game progresses, you are able to go to pirate havens and recruit crew. At the starters, you just have your normal crew that they're doing their own thing. After you gain a level, after you gain levels on the swagger track, you'll be able to increase to basic crew. And these are not cards you actually add to your deck. These are things that, like, basically these guys will help you, like freed slaves, give you a 4 attack or a 2 defense. Seasoned Sailors, 5 attack or 0 defense. Why would you do that? But here you go, 5 defense, or taking the card. So things like that, where they have basic crew. Very helpful, obviously, because they're permanent effects. And then elite crew, even better. Master Sea Dogs, 7 attack. John Julian Raiders, so you get 6 parlay, 2 attack, and 2 defense, or gain 1 free initiative this round. So, things like that are just like, card games like these, they just have certain things that you break the rules when you get them. So just keep those in mind. So, these are the sheets you're going to get it. So this is Blackbeard's player sheet, and so then gives you an overview of how the game is played up here. But then there's spots for this is your basic crew, your elite crew, your treasure card if you get any, the cards you draw, and then your unplayed deck, and so on and so forth. So just you have this cool little player sheet you can have, and the cool thing on the back is actually the Pirates rules. If you actually read about pirate history, they actually had a very diplomatic way of running the ship and what they did, and actually was kind of impressive that they were able to have that much order when really what they were doing was fairly chaotic. But anyway, all right, so after all of that, let's find out exactly how you play a turn in the game. So to begin the game, you're going to start off in Nassau. And as the game progresses, you're going to be moving about the board and ending up in different locations and being in different spots and what have you. But the premise is the same, is at the very beginning of the game, depending upon the turn, check and see if there are any pirate hunters within range of you. And if there are, they're going to attack you. However, before the pirate hunter theoretically swoops in to do away with you, you have to do what's called the time phase. Now, remember I said that the turns, you have 4 turns that have a variable number of rounds. You're going to grab one of these dice. Oh, I'm sorry, the C initiative. I apologize. You're going to grab one of these dice, and you are going to roll it. And depending upon what you roll, there's like this little red skull. There's these crossbones and crossbones, and this like cannon and what have you. And this die is used when you're going to be in combat. But the first thing you're going to do is you'll notice that there's this track over here that has 16 on it, and so when you roll, depending on what you roll, you're going to lower how far that goes down by depending upon the value that you have in this. Now, there isn't a value on this die per se, but like a red skull on here is spaces, you move 9 spaces. If you get a crossed bones or one of these little like guns and little explosions here, that's a 5. If you get these dice, you're gonna move 3, and if you get this gun here, it's a 0. So you roll this, and I'll see what I get. So I got those dice. You'd get a 3, and you'd lower this 1, 2, 3. Now, everybody's gonna have a turn, and then you're gonna roll that again, and then you do it again, and so if this reaches 0, that means that this particular round is over. And then you go on to the next turn, and we have an end of round, solve everything kind of moment where you kind of clear off the board, move the pirate hunters around. I'll get to that in just a little bit. But, so that's what I mean by variable amount of time. Now, I should have mentioned that before you actually roll that die, there's these swagger mission cards over here. Now, this is a mission that is given to everybody at the table that has to solve this. So here's the mission. So it's receive no bloodshed this round. Crews may receive bloodshed tokens instead. Bloodshed happens basically when you lose a battle or you get a critical miss in battle or something like that. And if you have crew cards, you can give them your bloodshed tokens to basically prevent yourself from dying. If you, as a pirate, ever get 2 bloodshed tokens, you are killed and you are out of the game. So you don't want that to happen, right? So, alright, good. You can also get captured and taken back to a fort to be executed for your crimes as well. Also something you don't want to happen either. But anyway, so do the swagger. So that is something that you want to complete this turn. If you complete that, everybody's going to get a bonus, and if you fail, not only is it bad that if you fail, but also you're going to have a smaller hand size the next turn. So anyway, so after you do the time phase, which we've done, then you draw cards. Normal hand size is 5. If you're a level 3 captain, your hand size is increased by 1. If you're a level 5 captain, you're increased up to another one, so you'd have up to 7. And then if your swagger mission was failed the previous round, you lose 1. And if your pirate haven was destroyed, then you lose 1 as well. But that's only if you've actually created your pirate haven already. If you haven't, then you don't have that -1 to begin with. So everybody gets 5 cards, and then you do your turns. So beginning with the first player, and rotating counterclockwise, each player takes a turn. Now here's something that's kind of cool that they do this, and you might recognize this from another game. Each player gets a chaos card. That's what these things are right here, and the chaos card has a situation in the back. So read immediately. Your foes and your woes are mine, and mine are thine. If a player does not attack this round and can parlay an enemy into submission, gain 1 advanced captain card. So if they're able to do that, you read that immediately and you tell them. So if you parlay somebody in, you're going to get an advanced card over here, one of those. Some of these, however, will that's another read immediately. I apologize. I'm just gonna cut and I'll find one here. So so here's like one where it's a situation. So if a player attacks a merchant and is successful, say the following. A surgeon is on board. He will pass on his secrets if you trade 1 of your experience for this knowledge. If you say yes, you search for your rest card this turn and place it in player's hand. If you have already played and have no more rest, shuffle and put the rest back into your player hand. So there is a card that you have in your deck that is a rest card. But so you would be able to take that advantage as you play the game. Now, the other person, the other player, since you're going counterclockwise, so remember anti-clockwise or whatever, the person to your right looks at their chaos card, and they tell you if you satisfy the situation on that chaos card, and then they tell you your option at that point. If they don't, then you just discard the chaos card, nothing happens. So, on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to roll these 2 dice. And these dice have these numbers on them, and they also have these like crow's nest tokens here, like a red crow's nest, and where's my white crow's nest? There it is, white crow's nest. So you roll these 2 dice, and this will determine how many movement points you have this turn. So, and the crow's nest, whether it's red or white, is 2. So that would be obviously a total of 5. So, what you look at is that, and this might be tough to see, but here, I'll actually show you here in the rules so you can actually see it. So, if you roll 1 white crow's nest, it's like 1 white lookout, you pick a C token at random, and you put that in the spot, and then you player's choice whether you want to have combat with it or not. With 2 white lookouts, and it's player's choice, a red one, combat occurs immediately, 2 red lookouts, 2 C tokens, and then around 1, with around 2, 3, or 4, a pirate hunter token, and then combat occurs immediately with the closest pirate hunter. And then here we have 1 of each. Add a treasure fleet token to the nearest sailing treasure track. For silver tracks, for gold tracks, add 2 treasure fleet tokens. So you have those other things that are basically going to put more of those on the board. So because we're starting right there, we're just going to take one at random here. We're going to look and see what it is, and this is a merchant. You can tell because there is the coins there right in the middle. It has 1 defense, it has 2 attack. It has a 5 parlay defense. That it has 5 parlay, and it has 2 like swagger if you're able to take care of it on there on the bottom. Now, so if you look at that, remember the defense is what matters. That's what matters. But parlay, basically what it tells you then is that you can have the ability to parlay with this particular ship. Now, sometimes like ships will attack other ships or whatever. Like these tokens will, and in which case they don't draw cards. Their number is static. It's just if this attacks somebody else, it would have 2 attack and it would have 5 parlay. So you just keep that in mind. The defense is what matters. But anyway, we put that little token right there because and we can choose whether or not we want to fight that right now. And now this is when you check to see if there's a hunter within close enough to you. And if you want to fight, which I'll explain fighting right now, you would handle that fight, and then you could move after the combat, theoretically, that if you won. So after you resolve whatever, like either a pirate hunter or a ship that you may have drawn for that location. Then you go to sailing phase. Now you can move up to a number of spaces that are equal to the total result of your sailing dice, which in this case was 5. Remember, this is worth 2. And then if you move into a spot that has any face down tokens, you turn those over, and then if you have to encounter those things at that time. So you might be in a situation where, like, here's another merchant up here, like you want to move up to that one, maybe to fight that one, see if you can take that one out. And remember, you have your cards, you have them in front of you, and this might be something where you'd be looking at your cards to see, do you have enough power to take something out. If you go, you can, obviously, if a space is empty, you can just move right through it, and you don't have to worry about that in any way, shape, or form. You can just make it through those places. If you go to a place that has a pirate haven, you can immediately perform a recruitment or a rest action. Remember, the recruitment is to get those basic and elite people, or when you rest, you're allowed then to remove these bloodshed tokens from you, because you're resting and recuperating from your wounds. Once you complete your round, remember, I'm going to show you combat here in just a quick second, so just bear with me. Once you complete your round, you then will draw cards from your deck again, so up to your hand size. So in this case, our hand size is 5. Then, if it is the end of round, like basically the end of this turn, if either the timer round marker over there has reached 0, and in which case then we move on, or the player that just went has 4 or less cards in hand and no cards left remaining in their deck. If the end of round is declared, any player turns, basically, so everybody gets like a complete turn, everybody gets the same amount of turns, they perform those, process through everything, and then you immediately go to the end of round or end of turn. I keep moving turn and round again, I apologize, but so basically that end of the round occurs. So like once somebody causes the end to happen because of the cards in their hand, then everybody else gets the equal number of turns, and then you have the end of that round. So if at that point the swagger mission was completed, everybody gets 3 swagger, and I'll explain swagger here more fully here in just a few seconds when I talk about how combat works. But then if it was the 4th round, then the game is over, and you're going to go ahead and check and see who has completed their captain missions, to see who wins. And then if not, then each player shuffles all of their pirate cards into their deck once again, and then any new cards they may have gotten from like the advanced pirate deck. And you discard any unresolved chaos cards you may have had, and then you will go through the process of, like, you move the pirate hunter tokens by drawing territories, and you move them to another space. If they move to a space that had been conquered, like somebody had moved in and taken out St. Martin or whatever, and they replaced it with one of their cubes to show that they've controlled it or whatever. If they move to one of those places, they will take those back and reconquer them, unless one of the players happens to be there to protect it. Any treasure fleet tokens that may have been spawned during the turn, if they were not destroyed, will be taken off the board because they've moved the treasure off and taken it home to Spain. If there are fewer than 10 sea tokens on the board, you'll place 1 face-up sea token at each location that already has a sea token, and then draw 6 more territory cards and put those tokens face down in those places that are told. And the territory cards, I should just show you one. Territory cards just show you something like here. It says Martinique, and so then you would place it in that location for that. So that way, at the end of the turn, before you go to the next one, you repopulate the board, so there's more stuff out there, more stuff for you to track down and take out. All right, so how do you do combat? All right, we're finally going to get to that, and I do apologize for making you wait so long. Combat is relatively simple. You just need to be able to defeat whatever it is you're fighting. So in this case, we have, like this one. Look, it has only 1 defense, so it isn't that much to it. But before you start combat, you have to roll this die, or if it has a land combat, you roll this die. And you roll this die to see what you get. And so let's see. So I got this symbol, which is considered a hit, meaning that I'm going to have initiative in this combat. If you rolled that, that is considered to be losing combat. If you're fighting a pirate and you get this result, you don't have to fight. Basically, it's like one of those things where the pirates realize that you're both pirates and you both can just avoid each other and move on. If you want to fight the pirates, you can, but you automatically get a bloodstain token for doing so. So that's not really always that good of an idea. Now, some of these, like these misses here, so you lose initiative, they have this 2, and this one has that 4. If you're a level 2 pirate, it turns into a hit. If you're a level 4 pirate, it turns into a hit. So leveling up, obviously very important. Now, this means a critical hit, meaning that you can increase your you get initiative, but you also get to choose to increase your combat to 3. You just get bonus 3 combat, which is always good because that help you fight what you're going up against. And then this is a critical miss, and that's a bad deal, because when you get a critical miss, you're going to be taking damage before you even start. You always act second, and you either have to discard a pirate card in your hand, discard a reputation token that you may have collected, or take a bloodshed token. None of those are good things. And I should mention that you can also, instead of just a 3 combat or a 3 gun with this one, you can get 3 parlay or 3 duel, and you get a free reputation token for being lucky enough to roll that on that die. Alright, so then you're just going to go through with the combat. So you do have the option, if you wanted to, you can try to flee from combat. If you're fighting something that you have no chance of beating and you're just going to get your hat handed to you, you can try to flee. If you have initiative, you roll this die and then you successfully flee if you get a hit or a critical. And then you would, if you do not have initiative, if you're not attacking first, you have to roll a critical to be able to flee. If you decide not, if you don't flee, you can say I surrender, in which case then you are captured, and if you remain captured throughout the rest of the turn, then without anybody else coming there to that spot and saving you, you will be brought to the nearest fort and executed for your crimes, and you're out of the game. So if you're going to capture, you better make sure that the people, the other players, are going to be willing to come and help you if that's the case. If you try to flee and fail, you discard a card from your hand and you take a bloodshed token or discard a reputation token, and then you have to go through the combat. So just if it's one of those risk reward type of things. When a player succeeds in fleeing, that player moves their ship to any adjacent space and reduces their swagger to the leftmost space of the row they're on. So if your swagger was up to here, you'd move down to 17, like so. Pretty straightforward. And then after all that is done, if you're actually still going to be fighting, then you go through the attack phase. And it happens in 2 parts. You have a first attack and potentially a second attack. The second attack only occurs if the first attack fails to succeed. The first attacking side is determined during the initiative phase, which you do by rolling that die. When the attack occurs, one side generates an amount of attack or parlay, determined by your cards that you have in your hand. If the particular thing that you're fighting doesn't have a parlay, you can't, as I said, you can't use parlay to fight them. The attack continues pretty simply. Okay, so as I already drew these 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we were fighting that 1 defense, we'd have to just go ahead and look through our cards to basically have something that is going to defeat that defense to do an attack. And so you just go ahead and say, it's here, just pretty simple. Blow the man down. It has a 2 cannon. And so you just play that card down to show that you're using that to defeat this 1 defense ship, and then you would go ahead and defeat it. You flip it over to show that it has been destroyed, and sometimes you'll have more than 1 ship in the area, so then that's why you turn 1 over. But in this case, there's only that 1, and so you flip it over, and then you would look, and you would say, all right, well, then it's worth 2 swagger when we defeat it. So then you would just go ahead and move it over like that. Now, some of the other ships, like the Treasure Fleet ships, when you defeat it, like you get a treasure token and other things. But depending upon... So that isn't like a ton of stuff, but swagger is very, very important, obviously, because it raises the level of your pirate, and you can have access to other things. And so then you take that, and you throw it back with the rest of the tokens, so it can be something that can be drawn again. Now, you can go ahead and use your ability to move. And so then if we go 1, 2... Now, because we're there, we can now turn that over so we can see what's at this Charlestown, like how tough Charlestown would be if we wanted to attack it. And you can see that it has a 9 combat, 9 defense, 15 parlay, and it'd be worth 8 swagger if we were able to take that out. And remember, if you destroy Charlestown and you still haven't set up your Pirate Haven, you can set up your Pirate Haven in that location, or just use a cube to show that you took it out and like you have ownership or control of that area. But here we have something with 4 defense, and so then we'd roll this die, see what we get. And oh man, that was bad. So I rolled the critical miss. So now, what am I going to do? Am I going to take a bloodshed token? And I remember I don't have a reputation token, so I'm going to discard a card. And remember, I got to have something that defeats even at 4 on there. And so then I can go ahead and look, and I'm going to go second. So what's the attack on this guy? So the attack on this guy is a 3. And so I don't want to have to deal with that. So I need to make sure I save a card that'll protect me. I have this card that will do defense, but once again I don't have a reputation token to increase it to 4. And looking through the rest of the cards, I don't have any other defense. So I'm going to get hurt in this situation. So I can't take a bloodshed token. So I'm going to have to discard a card. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to discard that one because of our bad roll. And now, looking through here, it's like, so we're gonna get attacked, and we got to make sure. Now here's the thing though, you have to, if you don't at least equal half of the attack that you're being attacked with, you're defeated and then possibly captured. So you need to change that. So what we're going to do is we're going to discard this card to show that we have a defense of 2 against that attack of 3 that thing has. And because we don't defeat the defense, we have to take damage. And so we're going to have to take this bloodshed token. Thankfully, I have this card that actually has, rest on it. So I'm going to be able to go ahead and go, like, if I can, I'll make it back to Nassau here, and then I can go there and I can rest with the rest of my movement for this turn. So now I have to try to defeat it, and it has a defense of 4. I'm not going to be able to defeat this. Now let's just pretend. Let's pretend for a second. Because the parlay is defense of 4 and parlay is 4. Ugh, that's horrible. So let's pretend I had a reputation token. Oh, okay. So if we did, then we could discard a reputation token, and then go ahead and put that down with this, power it up to 4. We would defeat this particular, and then we could go ahead and take that out, and it would be worth 3 swagger and a reputation token for defeating it. So then we go up to 5 like so. Then we'd go back to Nassau for a turn, lick our wounds, and play our last card to rest, which would then allow me to get rid of the bloodshed token. And then at the end of my turn, I would go ahead and I draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more cards, and then the next player would be able to do their turn. All right, I mentioned I explained the swagger track a little bit more, and just the way this works is once like you get up to 9 swagger, what happens is that you're going to go ahead and you're going to take your token here and put it over to the next level, showing that you had met level 1. And then you go ahead and you reduce your swagger back down. So it isn't one of those things where you like slowly gaining and keep climbing. Now to get to the next level, you have to get to 17 and you go there and go back down like so forth. And that's how the swagger track works. It isn't just a flat, to get to level 2 you just need 9 to get to level, and so just keep that in mind that it doesn't level up level up quickly. It is something where you have to work hard at it and work hard at getting things done. Now I probably extended myself a little bit too much on that turn. It was one of those things where I'd already used one of my attack cards and I really should have thought ahead, but And that's one of the things that I've really learned as I played this game, how easy it is to like, if you don't have the right cards in your hand, if you don't have the right things to do what you want, you can't be too audacious to begin with. This is a fun game of leveling up your pirate, though, and becoming bigger and better. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it, is that process. Now, one last thing, I just wanted to show these things. There are a couple places, you might be wondering, how do you get over here? You can go by way of the Cape Horn over here. You can do that and then end up over on the other side by using Cape Horn. So that is an option to get around, basically. That takes 6 movement points to do it. And there are places that you can use to get across to go across, like, the ocean by traveling by a land. And so you can go across, like so, to do those things as well. And to cross over, it's 6, as I said, to do the Path of Cape Horn. But if you want to go ahead and go the other way, from Veracruz to Acapulco, it costs 2 movement. And then to go from Portobello to Panama, which is right here, that costs 4 movement to go across there. So that's how you get across, and you're able to actually investigate these little spots over here and check those out. So there you go. That is the Pirate Republic. As I said, it is a fantastic pirate game, mostly because it's bridging the gap for me for my pirate games. I'm a huge fan of Merchants and Marauders. I really like everything about it, but I always felt it was a little cartoony, but I liked that about it. It reminded me of like Sid Meier's Pirates, and I think it was supposed to. But this one reminded me of a different computer game that you may or may not be aware of. But I will talk more about that in my final thoughts, which I will do right now. Alright, thank you for taking the time to listen to me tell you how the Pirate Republic is played. I hope it was clear for you. I understand that there might be some confusion with the rules and whatever, but at its heart, like I said, this game is a campaign-driven, mission-driven card game. And there is, some deck-building element to it, but the thing is, it isn't like, you're not shuffling through your entire deck. There isn't some weird combinations where you're like, oh, now draw 3 cards and now I have 2 buys, or what have you. These are different cards that you're going to be using that, as you draw those 5 cards, they kind of determine your strategy for that turn, or more cards for that matter, depending on what level you are. And then you kind of survey the table to see what is out there, what you can do. You look at your captain's mission, you look at the swagger mission that you have going on, and you kind of determine, I just realized I took a bloodshed token. We failed the swagger mission. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, anyway, the rest of the players and the other player that the player I was playing against would be very upset with me for taking that bloodshed token. So, sorry, but there's a lot to it, and I mentioned a computer game that I played. Now, this was another pirate game, but there was a game called Cutthroats, and I think it was like Cutthroats, like Pirates on the High Seas or something like that. And it kind of took the premise of Sid Meier's Pirates, and it got rid of a lot of the superfluous stuff. Now, backing up just quickly, and I don't want to talk about this too long, but Pirates came out in like 1987. And the Sid Meier's game. And I had it for my Commodore 64 way back in the day. And the game was amazing. I loved it. And I remember I played it on my Sega later and what have you. But then, of course, they totally redid it, and they remade it, and they made it, like I said, kind of cartoony. They had those dance missions and stuff like that. It was kind of ridiculous. But Cutthroats came out, I think, in 2000 or maybe 1999, right around there. And Cutthroats was more of a simulation of being a pirate and doing your thing. There wasn't any kind of nutball going on. You actually had like a pretty big fleet, and you could actually direct your fleet, and you could do all these things. And the combat was, like, in my opinion, wasn't watered down. You could have these super long land combats where you invaded a town and you could destroy the town and all these things. And it made it, the game was a lot of fun. And this game reminds me a lot about that because of the fact that this game feels more of a like a simulation. Like I said, there is going to be your flying gang mission that you're trying to complete. And, you know, and I know a lot of people have a problem with semi-cooperative games because you think, oh, geez, you know, it's just like, well, am I working against, or am I, and with the Saboteurs, it kind of adds like a cool little faction kind of question, if you will. And I like that about the game. There's nothing better. We have played games with the Saboteur, and there really is nothing better if you are the Saboteur, that if you, like, manage to complete what you're doing but everybody else fails. I mean, because that's like, you know, obviously it's kind of like playing Cosmic Encounter with like 6 people and you actually manage to win all on your own, which is really rare, obviously. But kind of the same thing here. It means that, like, your win is actually kind of more substantial, if you will. But like I said, when I was talking about how the game was played, this game is a lot of fun to play just kind of as straight co-op. I mean, just everybody just trying to get their thing done. But also, there's just so much fun as far as, like, just cruising around, you know, around Cuba and St. Kitts and all these other places and tracking down these ships and blowing them up and taking the treasure and whatever. And it reminded me a lot of playing, like I said, playing that game Cutthroats, because I remember playing that and really, really enjoying just kind of like forgetting about like the whole mission that you had, which was like to kind of amass this amount of gold so that you could retire and you could retire and like just be a governor or whatever, you know, like just basically sit on the beach and drink rum for the rest of your life and never have to worry about another thing, which is cool. But I always liked, I remember I just travel back and forth and just, you know, find more and more treasure and destroy more and more forts and all those different things. And I found myself really upset in a way when this game would get done with. You know, like, oh, let's do the flying gang mission. No, I don't want to do the flying gang mission. I just want to cruise around. I want to try to track down the treasure fleet. I want to go kill that pirate hunter that's been bugging me for like the last 2 turns. I finally have like enough cards and enough things to go and hand him his hat and send him to the bottom of the drink, you know. And so there was like that going on, and I always felt that after I got done with the full game, the full 4 rounds or turns of the game, like I had this epic story to tell about my pirate, you know, and you know, and the only thing I liked is I just called myself something else. I would always like, you know, name my own pirate. Yeah, okay, it's cool to say you're Blackbeard or Calico Jack or whatever, but I always thought it was like a lot more fun to just say, oh, you know, it's like, that fine. I'm Sven, the Norwegian pirate, you know, or whatever, you know, and just do your thing anyway. But like I said, it's like you start having this cool immersive pirate experience. You start figuring out the little the tricks and the movement and swearing revenge, and you know, and you can go player versus player. I mean, you can go into a spot with another player, and if you have to or if you want to because you're the saboteur or whatever, you can attack them. And of course, then it is your cards against their cards, not the token against you. You know, so. You know, there is that added element as well. And so, you know, for the full experience, I really can't complain in the slightest about this game because of the fact that, yes, the rules aren't as straightforward and it is simple as some of the other pirate games out there, but they aren't, and they aren't as obtuse or as difficult to learn as, say, like Blackbeard, which is a fun game, but man, that rule book. But so this is kind of bridges that gap for me. It's complex enough to make me really feel like I earn the fun game experience that I have, but it isn't so much a simulation that I lose the fun as well. And that is why the Pirate Republic is my new favorite pirate game of all time. So there you go. If you have any questions about it, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. I know it was a little bit of a long one, so I appreciate that. And until next time, I am the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.